Hello and welcome to BW Hotwire. Today we have with us a very special guest, Mr. Saurabh Kumar, MD and founder of Euler Motors. Thank you, Mr. Kumar, for sparing your time for BW Business World. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
It's my honor to be here. I'm happy and excited to chat with you guys.
So, I'll start with a very basic question. When did this idea, cross your mind? When did you when did you start sowing the seeds of Euler Motors that you need to disrupt the mobility ecosystem with EVs and all? If you can run us through that, was that idea developed in the US or over here? And why did you for India as a market where it's still at a very nascent stage?
Okay, so 2018 was the time I think when we started thinking and about the electric vehicle opportunity in India. But I think back, how it started, if I have to go a second back, right? So when I was in US until 2013 and toward the end, and then I came back to India. There was a stark, change in the air quality and the pollution level that's something that you notice. But I was always, I was in Delhi for almost a decade before I went out to study, work and some of that. So I was aware of this, but over a period of time from 2014 to I think 16, 17 throughout every Diwali when you around that time you had that crop burning issue and you can literally see the smoke, you can feel your eyes burning. So it was very difficult to sort of not feel that the pollution that the air that we are breathing is polluted and it has consequences on human life. And especially being an engineer, I was always thinking about if there is a way to fix this problem. Obviously, first step as any human was to blame either other companies and everyone, because I was thinking about a very different kind of company in 2018 after my previous company was bought by Paytm. Then the question became that why not I and us, we can go and start making a change. Why India as a market? I think I always believed in that India has a potential to be the next superpower in the world, and that was one of the reasons. Even when I was in US for almost 4 years, 3 to 4 years, I came back to contribute to India because first company was in mobility space and in the smartphone space, and that there was a major boom in that space. I believe that even in mobility, India is going to be one of the largest sort of country, in the world. And EV definitely is disrupting the entire mobility space globally. It will also disrupt the Indian market. So being here, I understood, given this opportunity is there, so it made sense to be here. And if you're creating business, it also helps your people around you. So that was I think the whole thought why we went and built it.
So, you are starting at a time when there is a blanket ban on, not blanket ban, but there is a lot of anti-China sentiments. Incidentally, a lot of powertrain components like lithium-ion cells, motors are sourced from China. So, is it a setback for you, if I may ask, or you think it's an opportunity for you to develop it in-house and accelerate the Make in India program of the Modi government?
See, so fundamentally, like I said, right, so I believe in making in India. I believe in building a global company out of India and dominating the EV sort of mobility space. And I do believe that a company can be built in India that can dominate global sort of with that. But I think when we started, I think the process that we took was like, building the vehicle quickly and get to the market, test it faster. So we did rely on not just China, but countries globally, right? From Europe to, I mean, the American market, Korean market. So we had components sourced from almost every place, right? The new vehicle that we are hoping to launch by early next year in the Q1, that vehicle has less than 5% component that are sourced specifically if you take from a China example. And this was also, I mean, think like when you're designing the vehicle, some of the decision was already done previous year. But even those 5%, we are confident that within next 5 to 6 months, we would sort of move it out of there. So for us, it was not like a big setback. But I think the question is not just about, I think, anti-China or anything. The components that you mentioned, like the powertrain or the cells or these, even if you move out of China, I think you will have to depend for like just say a Taiwan or a Korea or someone to import the components, and maybe you're able to assemble and manufacture the PCB or the battery pack here. Until we solve that core issue, some of this, like, total dependence on Indian supplier will take time. So like, for instance, if you want to solve for electronics component, then you need to get, let's just say an IC factory over here, like, I mean, somebody who can make IC, and then maybe your dependence on global electronics component manufacturers would go down, and that will help. So particularly to China, I think we have 5-6%, not too much. So we're not that worried, and we are trying to, obviously, right after the whole anti-China sentiment, we have been looking at like other sources as well. And majority of our suppliers are already in India, because we are currently in a three-wheeler segment, and India dominates world in that three-wheeler segment, right? I mean, we make 1.2 million three-wheelers. India uses around 700,000, but around 5 to 600,000 it exports every year. So entire your supply chain exists. The only thing was around your cells or powertrains and some of those components.
And sir, if you can just run us through the segments that you would be foraying into or you are into, will you be restricting yourself to three-wheelers, or you are also getting into two-wheelers and four-wheelers and all? And will it be for both cargo and passenger vehicle space, or it's dedicated for cargo space and all? If you can just run us through it.
Thank you. That's a very good question. So, see, for us, right, we are focusing on the light commercial vehicle segment. So, as a company, I think for the next 5 years, I think we are going to be focused on the commercial. So, anything on private two-wheeler, four-wheeler cars, we would not be sort of entering that. We are very, very singularly sort of focused on the commercial uses, because that's where we feel that the maximum amount of pollution is being generated, and that's your three-wheeler cargo, your smaller four-wheeler cargo, like the Chota Hathi, or I mean those segment pickups and mini pickup segment. Those are the segment, I think, for the next 5 years where we'll be very focused.
Okay, so what you're saying is only LCV space, and that's also like light, ultra light commercial vehicle, not like
not like a truck or yeah. So just like
last mile, for more last mile.
Yes. To start with, I think we are going to be focused more on the last mile, and as like the use case for electric sort of becomes better, and then we will obviously like expand to other sort of market as well. And I think just to highlight, right, as a OEM, we are not just building the vehicle, but our belief is that if you want to accelerate India's transition to electric mobility, then you need to build the ecosystem, service station and skill centers and all of that together. So today, for instance, we have around 200 electric vehicles running even during lockdown, currently even today. But to enable that, we also had like around 100 of charging station live across Delhi NCR. So there are a couple of places where there are like 15-20 charging stations combined together. So that gave us a very good idea about how do you set up ecosystem. And then also your skill set requirements, mechanics are fine, but what about electrician? Are they, Do they understand charging, discharging? I mean, some of those very, very smaller sort of nuances, but almost used daily if you're using an electric vehicle. So once we build that ecosystem, I think in other parts of country, so other than just last mile, we'll grow to the other segments of India as well.
So you just said about building the ecosystem. So is it safe to assume that you will be building charging stations also? If yes, I mean, how much would you be investing for that, and how many charging stations? And if you can put the timeline for that.
Yeah. No, so I think charging station, yes, I mean, to answer your question, yes, we will build the charging station because we fundamentally believe that both have to be together. In fact, like charging station has to be before even your vehicle sort of comes in the market. It cannot be that, okay, I'll launch the vehicle and let charging station comes, because I'll tell you why, and I'll answer your question. So I think when I was, I used to study at DPS RK Puram. But I used to go by auto in the morning in the early, like I remember when I was in 7th, 8th class. And I think around that time, your CNG and LPG was introduced, right? So sometime when I used to go to school, I used to see the huge lines of like the auto driver near that, like, CNG station. And that kind of helped me understand that, your charging time is very, very high. So if you're going to put like lesser number of charging, below a certain point, then you're going to see these huge lines. And some of these still exist. I mean, by the way, like if you see for cars, you will still see longer lines at some of the CNG and LPG stations. So infrastructure is a must, and we are going to make sure there are adequate number of stations. How many? I think that we are working on, and by when, but I think it's going to be a continuous process. Will it be 1,000 or by next year? Those are the things I think we are still figuring out and working on.
What about the capex plans? How much are you investing, and where are you setting up your facility and all? And like, will the facility be used for only domestic market or for export? If you can put a capacity also of that facility.
Okay, see, right now I have a very good idea of until next year, to be honest, right? I mean, I can give you like a lot of global, sort of 5-year projection as a company and all of that, but let's limit it for the next 1 to 2 years sort of conversation. So I think in next 1 to 2 years, we are thinking about 10,000 three-wheelers needs to be deployed. And we would be thinking about, we'll be starting from 100 per month of manufacturing and ramping that all the way till 1,000 per month manufacturing. Initially, it will be focused on your major tier 1, tier 2 cities of India. And after, I think, second year, we will expand to the other sort of the global market that India already exports to. So by putting 10,000 vehicle, we will have fairly good of understanding of also what customer has to say, other than what. When we built, we had some understanding of what customer wants, but when actually customer will use it, they will give us better feedback. So we'll modify and then deploy the next vehicle.
Okay. And how much are you investing for that? If you can put a capex plan and all, and will that be used for exports also?
So today it's roughly around 50 to 56 crores was the budget that we are investing in setting up the entire facility for the three-wheeler sort of the manufacturing part. This is excluding everything else that we are doing or thinking about R&D in the future, and this is just for your upcoming 10,000 vehicle that for the next 2 years that we are thinking. And we might be doing a bit more of investment, but that would be in, I think, 2022 first quarter. So we are going to observe till 21 how this market grows and reacts, and then I think we'll build the next plan in the quarter first of 2022.
Okay. And sir, about your export plans and all, if you can talk a little bit about your export plans.
Export will come, I think, 2022, 23 after 2 years, because we want to first dominate at least get a very good sense of the India market, right? Our product has to work in all seasons. We have tested over 200 vehicles and we have seen all kinds of, waterlogged subways to 1-ton payload in our three-wheeler. We've seen all kinds of usage with motor failing to controller failing. So we have seen most of it. We are trying to fix as many problems, and I think once we put the new vehicle, I think there might be bit of new lessons, and we'll learn that and we'll release. But export wise, I think we will go to the similar markets where India had already gone to, like in Nepal, Sri Lanka, African markets. So those are already there. And once four-wheeler comes, then we do intend to go to European market and the South American market as well.
Okay. And sir, the products that you're rolling out, are they being developed over here or they are developed somewhere else? And where are the R&D activities happening?
Right now, actually, on the ground floor of this factory, like people are driving vehicle, I can still sound noise. Yeah, so we do. Majority of R&D happens in India, and battery pack manufacturing is happening. I think first floor on the left side behind of me is where battery pack gets manufactured. So we do a lot of R&D here, but some R&D also happens at our supplier base, somebody who is building our chassis or somebody who is building the cabin. So there are engineers also working with them to make sure that some of this is working fine.
Okay, and what kind of powertrain configurations are you working on? If you can talk a little bit about that, and will they be compatible with hilly and mountainous terrains, or they are only on plain terrain?
Sorry, you're asking about the configuration of the vehicle?
Yeah, technical
vehicle. See, the configuration will obviously announce by the Q1 because some of that is being tested. But I'll give you one point, right? See, the end customer who is going to be your, let's just say, a driver or a fleet owner, I think to some point you can tell him about the functionalities and everything, but beyond that, it's that emotional or the feeling inside their mind or inside their heart. There's a black box that takes the decision for them, and that depends on his own understanding. You can say कि 7 kilowatt motor है या 5 kilowatt motor है, it doesn't matter. For him, it's like this. कल को उसको 1 ton का payload मिला तो वो flyover पे रुकना नहीं चाहिए. He does not want abuse from a car who is going next by कि भाई तू इतना slow क्यों चला रखा है या traffic jam क्यों कर रखा है. He does not want that, right? और या कल को there's flyover में पानी लगा हुआ है and he should not be afraid to cross that and vehicle रुक गया. So that segment. So when we are thinking about customer, we really put that driver in all that seat, and we want him to be less worried. We want him to get less calls where यार तू यहाँ पे क्यों अटका है या ये ब्रेक डाउन हो गया. So when we observe that life, we realize that those guys are not treated very well, and part of the reason were related to maintenance or some breakdowns and some of these things as well, which adds anxiety and in their daily life. So when you think of spec, I think it boils down to that कि अगर उसको payload मिला, वो 100 किलोमीटर अगर दिन में उसका load, typical what we have seen in last mile, it's around 8. If you see a 8-9 hours of journey, उसमें वो 100 घंटा चलाता है, 100 किलोमीटर चलाता है, 80 से 100. So if it runs 100 kilometer, he is fine. अब 120 भी अच्छा है, 140 भी अच्छा है उसके ऊपर, right? So but it's kind of at the end of the day, will he be able to take 1 ton on a flyover? Because that's the most abused condition. You can say 500 kgs what a three-wheeler can take, but you have to think about 700, 800 kgs as well, because sometime he will get those kind of load and he does not want to get disappointed कि यार ये 3 लाख के इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल या 2 लाख के इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल में तो इतना ही मिलेगा, तुम्हें अगर ये चाहिए तो उसके लिए 4.5 लाख का खरीदो. Like that is not what works.
The Delhi government has rolled out a series of policies. Earlier they came with a EV roadmap, and now they have allowed EVs to be sold without the battery. So are these steps progressive and help give a fillip to the EV industry? What more needs to be done beyond this?
See, देखिए, from a government perspective, I think both center and state, right? I mean, they both policies have been very, very progressive, right? And this is someone who is saying, like, I mean, I was thinking about doing an electric vehicle in 2018, so I had to kind of bet key how the governments will, will function, and like, is this right sort of business to get into, because we are a startup. At the end of the day, we don't have a capital like large businesses, right? And we have to demonstrate some things, and then the new investor puts in money because they are confident of what we are going to deliver, and that kind of continue. So we had trust, and I think some of these policies coming out is like, it's a good thing, because it's a forward progressive thing. Now, whether small, let's just say, if there is a with fixed battery, without fixed battery or something, some of these, I think even government have been allowing a lot of these things, and they're also observing what is working, what is not working. Because what I believe is India is a very unique market. It's a market of plenty where you cannot take something from West and and copy paste in India and expect all of it to work. There will be some fine tuning, and I think what is important, and which is a sort of progressive mindset, is where you're okay to try new things, and you're okay to incorporate new policies, put it on ground, see what works, and take back what does not work, right? And I think from that perspective, when I see it's pretty good. So between the previous state policy, which was announced a couple of days back, and with center, I think combined, that is like one of the, I would say, phenomenal policy that I've seen globally. I'm not just talking about India per se. At least for the segment that we are looking in, it's actually very good.
Tell us about your dealership and retail plans. Will you should I repeat the question?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you. Yeah.
Tell us about your retail expansion plans. Will you be setting up brick and mortar stores, or will you go for the online medium, or will it be phygital instead of digital or physical? What is the way forward?
So we'll be launching next year. I think we are debating. So while you asked this question, I think I'm like, internally in our minds also there are all these questions, and especially with COVID, we have been thinking about digital property, digital marketing to digital contactless delivery. So we are thinking about all kinds of ways that in case like some of this happens again, how do you build? How do you continue the business with minimum impact, right? Now, whether we will set up franchisee or whether we will have direct retail model, some of those we are still working. I think we will probably by early next year we'll have better idea of like how we are going to roll out.
Okay, so safe to assume that it will be largely in tier 1 cities rather than tier 2 and tier 3 cities.
Yeah, initially I think it might be not even all tier 1 cities. It might be just like 1 or 2 just to start, and I think we'll see the first response, and then but over a period of 2 years it will be in majority of the tier 1 tier.
What steps does the government need to take to spur e-mobility, something it has done for smartphone manufacturing? So what is it that the government needs to do? Should they bring down the GST on EVs, or should they give PLI schemes, or what is it that an EV maker like you look for?
देखिए, अगर मैं मांगने जाऊँ तो मतलब we can ask for like everything that can get right, but yes, there are a couple of things. I think, like for instance, I was talking about that if government can sort of work on setting up or get some large companies to set up IC manufacturing in India, promote some of the sort of like, let's just say, chip IC manufacturing in India, right? I think that will really help, because right now we have solved for the value add in terms of your designing, testing. Some of that of electronic chips have been solved. I think that is the other segment, if there are chip manufacturing, then a lot of time saving happens, prototypings are much faster, and production is there, and your dependency on outside of world also reduced. So it's not just for EV. I think it will help in general all segment. Anywhere electronics are involved, right? So one is that. Other than I think one thing that I often note is a lot of time things gets implemented or directed in policy. It takes a bit of time to reach ground, which is normal because India is a very large complex organization from a government perspective, if you see, and also from people. We are a large country, right? There's no doubt. So information dissemination takes time. So even when policy comes, I often do not what I think this policy helps is it educates the ecosystem at a very fast rate. I think everybody realizes, the government is bullish on EV. There are new things happening, so that's very good. Businesses want to make sure they are aligned to EV companies. They are trying to push for EV. So those are very, very immediate things that helps. But does that let's just say when you say ki no permit timing, no permit restrictions, does that get transferred to your the traffic police down on the ground? Does he know that? So how is that information travel? How much of that information travel taking? I think some of that sometimes I feel undermines your these policy. I think if the execution on some of those are very good, then obviously it's amazing. But I do understand, India is a very large country and very too many organizations, so I think it will take time to reach.
How do you see the EV vehicles? What is the future of e-mobility in India, and how big are you betting on it?
Jabardast. E-mobility is going to, I think it's going to disrupt the entire the automobile market. Everybody, right? I can see not just from as an OEM, your charging station so all ecosystem, supplier, manufacturer, retail, online delivery, so everything is going to get sort of impacted one way or other. I think everybody has been trying to figure out when is that sort of inflection, when is that time when it will jump, because we have been saying ki ab aayega, but kab aayega. But I think that's where the businesses are all about, right? Judging the time, right? We believe that time has come, and in fact we believe that time is running. We should be on ground right now, and we should be testing a lot, because there is also this and I had repeated this earlier, I sincerely don't believe that you can take a technology or you can take a master plan of some other country and implement it in India. It is true in EV, and EV is such a fast changing sort of technology or whatever you call concept, because your battery is constantly changing, your motor is improving, your controllers are changing. So a lot of the technology that has not fully matured in IC engine world, a lot of that has happened over a couple of decades and things have matured. So it sometimes it is easy to predict what's going to happen next. Here you have so many options that it becomes very, very difficult to, you can't say that I'll wait for 5 years and then I will get in when things will mature, because you never know, that market might have slipped right under. Okay. But if you're too early, then you just burn a lot of money as well. So it's a tricky decision, definitely.
I want to ask you one question, sir. Sorry. Lithium ion is the future, right? Some people say it's graphite, some say it's going beyond lithium ion and all. So, safe to assume lithium ion will be the future, even though we don't have lithium ion deposits. That will be the future, right? Lithium ion.
So, just a quickly answer, right? So, when you talk about lithium ion cell, uska jo Anode is graphite, right? So you can add graphene into it. You can have silicon anode. So those are different kinds of anode technologies, and you have cathodes, which has sometimes aluminium mixture, sometimes nickel, cobalt. So different ones. So people have been experimenting with these different ones because whatever gives you higher life cycle. I mean, everybody is going after 10 years, 20-year ka life cycle, or where it can retain the amount of charge. So the experiments have been going to improve your watt-hour per kg or watt-hour per liter. Those are the way you measure the energy density of a cell. There are technology around metal, air, and there are solid-state batteries. So those are, I think, some of the those research are going. But so far, I think lithium-ion is your best bet. I think it will take 7 to 10 years before a lot of other things to, let's just say, make sense for a light commercial vehicle, at least in our segment. So that's why we have been very bullish on lithium ion. And within that also, we have been a bit away from your LFP, which was the earlier iron sort of chemistry, which was built in China probably. So again, we don't use that to move away from anything from which was promoted by China earlier.
You mean lead acid?
No, LFP. LFP is lithium iron phosphate. And then you have NCA and NCM chemistry, which is nickel cobalt aluminium and nickel cobalt manganese.
Thank you, Mr. Kumar. It was lovely interacting with you. Thank you for the wonderful insights, and we wish you all the best in your mission for EV revolution.
Thank you. Happy to talk to you, Abhishek. Thanks so much for the opportunity and voice our thoughts. Thanks.